Let's move on to another audio clip that we have of another guest that we spoke with, Nadia Rehman, who is the founder and managing director of You and Me Publishing, an independent publishing house focused on inclusive children's literature based on Islamic values. With a background in marketing and communications, she was inspired to write her first book, Zainab's Little Rabbit, during the pandemic after the birth of her daughter. Nadia is passionate about promoting imagination, diversity, and Islamic values through storytelling. Let us have a listen of the things that she has to say.
You have authored a children's book called Zainab's Little Rabbit. Can you tell us what inspired you to write this? In what ways do you think storytelling can shape a child's identity or overall worldview?
So, well, it was my daughter who was the inspiration behind wanting to write books for children like her. I would read these amazing books to her, such as Tiger Who Came to Tea, Stickman, Snail and the Whale, um, from a young age. And I couldn't see a representation of my faith or culture in these books. So I wanted her to be able to see that representation of herself and her family. And I feel that if children can see themselves in storytelling, whether it be in literature or on the screen, it can really foster this sense of belonging. We can see that, for example, in the mainstream media, it has created a narrative that people from so-called third world countries or poorer backgrounds are uneducated, and nothing could be further from the truth. If a child is only seeing one ethnic group as the protagonist in children's picture books or any other book, for example, they will feel unimportant and will not have the confidence to speak about their culture or faith. And there is such power in storytelling as it unveils the truth about different communities and their culture and faith, and more importantly, about history. And that's why it's vital, whichever field we are in, to be that driving force to encourage inclusivity. And the real inclusivity does drive a change in children's worldviews and identity, I guess.
Um, that's a very inspiring way to look at it. So, in your view, how can parents or teachers encourage kids to write more? Because a lot of times you see that kids see
Mm,
writing as some sort of a chore. So how can
yes.
we encourage the kids to write more, but also enjoy it and see it as a something fun?
So, as you said, I would say, be that example and make it fun. You're completely right there. For parents, you have to be that example. And that goes with anything in life, to be honest. If you want your child to do something, you have to take the lead and show how enjoyable it can be to read and write, if that is your focus. Sit with them and read from a young age, read a bedtime story, even if you find it annoying, it's worth just getting through those early years. And my daughter is 5, and I'm on the same journey as every other parent. Most of us are winging it, and every child is different. So there's no one size that will fit all. And it's about building that relationship, noticing what your child is interested in, giving them the tools to explore reading and writing in a way that feels fun and personable to them. And obviously, books are expensive. That is the reality. Not everyone can afford new books, but where that's where libraries come in. Sign up to your local library. They're free and they can often have cozy reading spaces, activities for children, and lots of books to borrow. You could even make a little reading nook at home, somewhere that's screen free, where you can sit and read together. And for teachers, I think it's really important for them to reach out to different professionals. So in my industry, it would be authors or illustrators who can run workshops linked to their subject matter that they're teaching. That real world connection can really inspire kids. Also, keep an eye out for those students showing talent. You never know who could be the next great storyteller, and bridge that gap and create access for that child who may not have it.
That's very empowering and very helpful tips for parents to keep an eye out. We'll talk a little bit more about now You and Me Publishing. I'll let you explain that to our audience what You and Me Publishing is, and if you could also talk about how do you see You and Me Publishing changing the narrative in children's literature.
Sure. So You and Me Publishing is an independent publishing house. We are dedicated to creating child-centric and parent-friendly fiction. and it's rooted in Islamic values and reflected of our diverse society. And our goal is simple but powerful, to shine a positive light on Islam through beautiful stories that spark imagination, nature, empathy, and expose children to different cultures in an engaging and meaningful way. Islamic values like compassion, justice, kindness, they are all universal to all, regardless of your faith and background. And that's something that we want to make clear in every book we publish. I chose the independent route because I wanted full creative freedom, control over the stories that we tell and how we tell them. We find too often that narratives from our communities are watered down to suit commercial interests. Another reason why we have not taken any loans or funding, so we could have complete control over how we run our business. And that's why we built You and Me Publishing on strong values such as integrity, passion, positivity, and courage, to be authentic and represent the diverse communities in Islam, because not all Muslims come from an Asian or Arab background. So that's why we launched You and Me Publishing.
So how do you hope You and Me Publishing influences the broader publishing landscape? So I know you talked about your inspiration
Mm.
and everything, but overall publishing landscape, how do you think it would influence that?
So I hope that You and Me Publishing becomes a benchmark for self-publishers, encouraging others to build values-based businesses. And as we grow, we want to take people on that journey with us, sharing not only the successes, but our challenges too, because we can learn so much from our pitfalls through our journeys. And we believe in being transparent because not all businesses are linear. Um, it's a phase that you go through throughout business where you have peaks and troughs, and we want to continue to champion diverse voices, promoting inclusivity in storytelling and creating space for underrepresented authors, illustrators, and characters. We're committed to making sure that authentic stories are heard, and by doing so, we want to inspire publishers, whether they're big or small, to lead with equity and empathy and truth, really, in their practices. So hopefully, we're going in that direction.
Yeah, hopefully. You've touched You and Me Publishing. You've talked about some very passionate and inspiring. You're passionate about this, and you've talked about some very inspiring work. So just to bring it all together, so I know you've touched upon this in whatever I have asked you so far, but just to bring it all together, because I think it's such an important point. How can publishing empower underrepresented voices, both for writers and readers?
So I guess the real question here is, how authentic do publishers want to be? Are they truly open to diverse stories, or are they trying to shape narratives to make it more palatable for the mainstream? The reality is, Asian and Black people remain amongst the lowest paid in the industry, and publishers need to ask themselves why that gap exists. It's not just about hiring diverse staff, it's about access. The real barrier that exists, and most often, it's the voices that struggle for access are Asian and Black people. So, how can we change that? We can do that through mentorship schemes, encourage those that have talent to get a seat at the table where decision making takes place, remove bias from the submission processing. So, like introducing blind submissions, so you don't know who is submitting the submission, the manuscript, and building genuine funded partnerships with communities to discover and nurture talent. Right now, we're seeing diversity and inclusion efforts breaking down across many industries, and publishing has the chance to do better. But it starts with asking the tough questions and taking a real long term approach. The industry must do better to seek out talent. We often think that authors are lucky to get a deal from the publisher, but I think the publishers are lucky if they're able to find the next voice. And I think there is a slight shift happening. That there is a reality though that people are thinking more about how they can make their organizations more diverse. But I think more needs to be done. If anyone would like to find out about how what we're doing, you can follow us on socials at UMMeLit, that's LIT, and come and check out what we're doing, and you might find it interesting.
Great.
008 687